Good morning and happy Veterans Day. Today at Flip Matters we bring you the gentleman's edition of Metatalk Unleashed. Cheers to Cadillac, sir. A delight to the senses.
Today's segment, we're going to be talking about our 2015 Banlist speculations.
So today we're going to be looking at Rock and Rave, Celestial Solace, General Night Premiere as well.
In those cards, we're going to go ahead and isolate 5 cards that we feel probably should hit the ban list.
The developers have actually sat down and spoken with the actual players of the community in overwhelming numbers saying the same thing. There will not be a restricted list. They will not do power level errata. That was confirmed today by T-Mac and said we will only ever do a ban list. They've also specified in the past MLP actually currently has a ban list. There's just no cards on it. So we already know that there's not going to be a restricted list and there's not going to be power level errata. We believe that it's very important to understand what cards are going to be under that spotlight that we might want to work around in the future when we're deck building and innovating.
We definitely want to take away several cards that we feel are a little bit overpowered right now. So we're going to go ahead and hop right into the 5 cards we feel are worthy of a ban.
So Aqua, what do you think are grounds to ban a card? Or what do you find are ban-worthy reasons that a card would be removed from the game?
Cards that should be removed from the game are only cards that are toxic to the environment. Toxic cards are cards that create an unfair situation in the gameplay. One player can't play the game. Or cards just completely accelerate, even if you're winning, let's say, the other player comes back and completely dominates the game in a way that probably shouldn't have won the game. If there are situations where a game has infinite loops. Infinite loops aren't healthy for the gameplay because as the game evolves, these loops are just going to be faster and faster. Who can combo faster, myself or my opponent? Building off those, what would you feel would be the grounds for what cards should be banned?
I believe that things either make an unfair situation, cards like RTO. I also believe that cards that make the game unfun. Changing Infiltrator is a great example of that. Now you said infinite loops, I'm just saying unfun. You know, are we allotting certain time for this? Like, is it fun for one player to take a 30-minute turn? Both of those things go into creating an unfair meta state that's imbalanced.
On our list, we got DJ Pawn 3, Changling Infiltrator, Rarity Truly Outrageous, Fluttershy, Guidance Counselor, Monstrous Manual, Nightmare Moon. I feel the Monstrous Manual, Chozen's going to argue for Nightmare Moon.
So let's talk about DJ Pony. Why do we believe that card is so good, unfun, unfair, that it's ban-worthy?
So, majority of the decks in the format right now focus around DJ Pawn 3. DJ is definitely the strongest main, and it makes running any other color main really irrelevant.
The other thing about DJ is it's a gameplay mechanic. Drawing cards is something that's never bad. Not only is it drawing you cards for free, but it also fulfills your entry requirements. Drawing cards is never bad in any game that you play. There's literally no reason to play any other main other than DJ. You need diversity. There will never be diversity as long as DJ's in the game.
To the DJ ban. Next card is Changling Infiltrator. If you just cut that card out, those infinite loops would not exist.
I think Aqua's exactly right. Changing Infiltrator is a card that creates an unfun and unfair situation. Changing Infiltrator is a card that needs to be stopped. This is the reason why a ban list would be created. Having a card in the game that gives players the ability to take 30-minute turns. My issue with this is I know that Interplay thinks it's really clever and a creative use of game mechanics to have things like one-pace and one-shot loops, but it's so bad for the game.
You might as well go play Solitaire, honestly.
To the changing ban.
That brings us to Rarity Truly Outrageous. In the match between Quick Dash and Outrageous Draw, my opponent has 2 points. In that whole matchup, I had him completely outplayed. He just was able to draw into the 3 RTOs. It's not meant to be a combo deck. You still win playing aggro or combo. And that's just because Rarity Truly Outrageous is such a powerful card.
My biggest issue with Rarity is games are coming down to the fact that you're hoping you draw your RTO before the other guy does. The fact that the best aggro deck in the game's goal, draw cards until you grab RTO, is an issue. You are literally looking for one card. That's a problem.
The way we originally tackled this issue was, let's create a restricted list. A lot of these cards don't deserve bans. They still should be restricted in their power level. By implementing a restricted list, Rarity Truly Outrageous, Fluttershy, Guidance Counselor, their power levels are decreased, but you're not going to get flutter locked. You're not going to go from 2 to 15 points in one turn. Those situations won't happen with the restricted list. But since Interplay is not incorporating a restricted list, these cards have to be flat out banned. You have to remember, in a tournament setting, you can't lose to that double Fluttershy. You can't outplay your opponent the whole game and then end up still losing because of double or triple RTO.
Aqua, I'm going to straight out say, man, I think Interplay is wrong that they do not want to have a restricted list. It is very bad for the health of the game because there are so many collectors out there invested time and money to get the cards that they want to play. A lot of players spent hundreds of dollars buying these cards. These cards are not issues by themselves. You literally cannot get flutter locked with one Flutter Guy. You can't have a game stolen from you because your opponent played one RTO. There's always responses. It's not like it's in their hand and you have to hope you discard it. I truly believe that a restricted list is the answer, but if Interplay doesn't want to do that, that's their prerogative. To the RTO ban!
That brings us next to Flutter Guy. As the game goes on, Flutter Guy is definitely not as powerful as it is early game. And the best situation is to double Flutter Guy and lock them out of the game entirely. Generally, it's not that hard. Flutter Guy basically just says you don't play the game. And sometimes even the best players do lose to luck. We believe Flutter Guy should be restricted, but because there is no restricted list, Flutter Guy needs to be banned.
I had a big issue because I felt like Flutter Guy was winning games that never even began. This game has become a bastardization of itself. That's a problem, that when you have things like one-pace comboing off, Fluttershy, Guidance Counselor, villain lockouts, at least there's some counterplay involved, where it'd be villains with snips and snails in the hard way, or fears must be faced, or movement tricks, or aggro, you have villains. The problem with Flutter Guy is you can literally play it to your home, turn 2 with a roll of guidance, and your opponent can't do anything to stop it. They automatically get half of your resources if you play it on turn 2. Flutter Guy is just too good. It's 3 for 3. And then it automatically is a +1 because you're subtracting 1 from your opponent.
To the demise of Flutter Guy.
To recap the ban list in the current card pool, we would say DJ, Changling Infiltrator, Rarity Truly Outrageous, Flutter Guy, and last but not least, the final card Chozen would argue for would be Nightmare Moon. The final card I'm going to be arguing for is Monstrous Manual.
I believe that Nightmare Moon is the root of all evil. If anyone's ever played a game where 2 Nightmare Moons hit the board on turn 1 or turn 2, this creates an unfun situation. If you have a control deck that's recurring Nightmare Moon with Monstrous Manual or anything like that, it becomes a lot more impressive. And with a flip of 7 too, that's just insanely good. But remember, kids, flip matters. Now, Aqua, why do you feel that Nightmare Moon should not be banned?
I think the combination of Nightmare Moon and DJ is really detrimental. But if you take out DJ, Nightmare Moon is still viable. Nightmare Moon can be used very positively.
So, Aqua, why do you feel that Monstrous Manual, in opposition to Nightmare Moon, should be banned instead?
Honestly, if you guys have seen some of the loops that Monstrous Manual brings to the board, they're pretty incredible. If you flip Nightmare Moon with Monstrous Manual, you create a lock where your opponent just has to play the cards he has, or he's going to lose it that turn. Anything you play at that problem, all your friends will be frightened. You pay 2 AT every turn, you frighten a bunch of friends, you make things unconfrontable. I find Monstrous Manual the root of the problem.
That's actually a pretty good point, that it makes it unconfrontable. And then if DJ is gone, then that's it. But you're right. I probably would ban that. So, Aqua, those are really fantastic points. And actually, the fact that it makes the problem unconfrontable without the use of something like Snips and Snails in the hard way is a big issue. Now, that being said, I believe that if you remove something like Nightmare Moon, Monstrous Manual loses a lot of its power because that, in truth, is the root of all evil.
And I don't think it's that big of a problem, but at the same time, I don't think you should have to devote that many resources to stopping the Monstrous Manual.
The other thing that Monstrous Manual is, too, is it's a resource. If Monstrous Manual was at 1 and it got dismissed, it would be done.
Problem solved.
And you just play yellow and either play Fluttershy Monster Tamer, the Horror, Mr. Beaverton Beaverteeth.
That wraps up our segment.
To the eventual ban of a Nightmare Moon or a Monstrous Manual.
Alright, guys.